It is late January, and at this time of year, the population is at its largest, and the rock is packed with seals. All the cows have given birth to their pups for this season, and the barking calls of hundreds of seals produce a cacophony of sound. The crashing sound of waves pounding against the rocks does little to drown out the noise of the seals, as the colony quickly comes alive with the light and warmth that the sunrise brings. This is one of the largest breeding colonies of Cape fur seals on the southern African coastline. The seals have found a protected and steadfast habitat on these rocks along a coastline otherwise dominated by long stretches of sandy beaches. Seal birthing peaks in the first week of December, and the majority of the pups for this season have now been born. The pups are now all around 2 months old and are still dependent on their mothers for survival. Their slick black pelts and much smaller sizes easily distinguish them from the adults. Although the females have such young offspring, they will already have mated again within days of giving birth. But the fertilization process is very specialized. Once having mated, the fertilized eggs will remain dormant for about 12 weeks before starting to develop as a fetus. This means that seals have a gestation period of about 9 months. Once the pups from the present season are weaned, there is no need to remain here, and some of the seals may leave the colony for a few months at a time and travel the coastline in search of food. But the cows and dominant bulls return here each year to the safety of the rock. The cycle of giving birth to a new generation of seals and mating for the next season starts again. The big bulls responsible for the births have long since left the colony, preferring to roam the coastline in search of food and a little peace and quiet. The bulls will accumulate fat reserves, and although their average weight is around 396 pounds, upon returning to the colony to mate in the breeding season, some will be as large as 770 pounds. This extra weight gives these bulls the advantage against lighter opponents in the battles over territory and females. But they will shed these pounds quickly during the mating period, which lasts for up to 6 weeks. The bulls that remain on the rock are the younger males, who will only come into sexual maturity in the next breeding season. They are learning the ropes this year. These bulls will become sexually mature at the age of 3 years, but they will only be large and powerful enough to claim and defend breeding territories when they reach about 10 years of age or older. And they will start fighting with older, established males for breeding rights. Dominant males take on the responsibility of an entire harem of females when the mating season starts. They will spend their time mating with their females and ferociously defending their small territories on the rock. These harems will usually consist of up to 25 female seals, and the bull will mate with them all. These females will all range in age from about 2 years and older. Each year, when the big bulls start arriving back at the colony around October, they will attempt to reclaim the breeding territories that they occupied and defended the year before, in the previous breeding season. But they are often overpowered by younger and stronger bulls that are mating for the first time. As the sun rises in the sky, the first wave of adults leave the rock, catching waves and surfing off into the deep water to check out the sea conditions. Big waves allow for a quick and easy departure off the rocks, and the seals head out hunting and fishing for the day. The pups will remain behind, learning to navigate their way around the colony, climb rocks, and swim in the protected pools within the massive boulders that form their colony. One young pup is finding it a little difficult to get down to the pool below to join the other youngsters. Having watched his mother and the other adults in the colony, he's trying to copy the way they move from rock to rock. But using his flippers and rolling his body in the right way takes a lot more skill than he has just yet. And instead, he just jumps over the edge, destined for a bit of a rough landing. In living conditions like these, life is all about adapting in order to survive. These seals must acclimate to the weather and adjust to their environment. They must regulate their breeding habits and adapt to changing food sources and be able to compete for space, mates, and food. It is early morning in Lambert's Bay, and the sea conditions are pretty rough. But these rough conditions are ideal for the seals that live in the colony here. Big waves make leaving the rock easy. The huge swells provide good surf for the seals, and their slick bodies slide quickly off the wet, jagged rocks and into the deep waters. During the day, seals are often to be found basking in the sun or floating in shallow water near their colony. They are not migratory, but will travel great distances along the coastline of southern Africa to find food. But foraging in the ocean for fish and crustaceans is a dangerous job. Other, larger hunters, like sharks and killer whales, prey on seals. The Cape fur seal, or South African fur seal as they have recently been renamed, is the most common species to be found in the waters along the southern African shores. Seals have adapted for a life in the water. Their bodies are streamlined, and their limbs have been modified into powerful flippers. Their pelts are made up of coarse guard hairs and a woolly fur next to their bodies. Air is trapped in the layers of fur, and this waterproofs their bodies and insulates them against the extreme temperatures of the Atlantic Ocean. Their sleek torpedo-shaped bodies are perfect for gliding off the rocks and sliding through the water. Their thick pelts protect them not only from the cold temperatures of the ocean, but also against bruising and injury when they are washed on and off the rocks. The young pups remain behind on the rock. They are not yet strong or experienced enough to tackle the open seas and strong currents. So they will practice in the protected pools within the perimeter of the boulders. At birth, young seals weigh 9 to 15 pounds and have a shiny black coat that is easily distinguished from the adults. Several hundred seals are born every year. However, about 50% of pups will never make it to adulthood. Each season, hundreds of young seals will drown or die of infection, while others might fall prey to predators like jackals and hyenas on land, and sharks and killer whales in the ocean. Others may be crushed under the heavy body weights of the large males on the rocks. The majority of this year's new offspring has made it so far and seem to be strong. Each day, they grow bigger and gain more experience, practicing their swimming and forming relationships within their rookery. One day soon, they will have to leave the safety of the rock and venture out on their own. They must learn all they can while they are here. Not too far from the colony rock, long stretches of empty, sandy beach lie along the coastline, pounded consistently by the heavy surf. Although these beaches look as if they would be more comfortable to build a colony on, they cannot provide the rookery with the protection of the massive boulders. The colony is still attached to the mainland, and the young are vulnerable to predators like jackals, mongoose, and brown hyena. But the rocks still provide a barrier of sorts and make access to the seals difficult for predators. But most importantly, the rocks provide them with a stable home and protection from the rough seas and harsh weather conditions. Despite the potential threat of land predators, the young are relatively safe within the boundaries of the colony. If a pup matures to adulthood, it is possible to have a lifespan of 25 years. Populations are small, given females only give birth to one pup each season, and only a small percentage of these pups survive. It is these first few months of their lives that are critical. They must survive infection, being squashed by the big males, drowning, and starvation. If they are orphaned, they must then learn to forage and hunt for themselves. The pups will quickly adapt to eating whatever becomes available to them and can be quite opportunistic. Seals are known to attack seabirds, like this kelp gull, if they can catch them. Seal pups each have a distinct call and scent. This enables the mother to locate and recognize her own pup. The babies are dependent on their mothers for milk and will suckle for up to 10 months before they are weaned. Although for the last 6 months, they will learn to forage on their own and hunt as the adults do. The pups in this colony are still reliant on their mothers and are spending the day exploring the colony within the safety of the rocks. For now, they are content to follow various adults along the rocks. The pups will learn survival techniques, mimicking the adults' every move. This is how the pups are prepared for adult life and survival in the ocean, once they are weaned and ready to leave the colony on their own. While the pups remain in the safety of the colony, during the day, the adults will take turns traveling out to sea on foraging trips, looking for anything from fish to sea Their diet varies with the seasons and availability of prey species. Seals prey predominantly on pelagic, schooling fish, such as pilchard and hake, but will also eat squid and cuttlefish. Adult males may stay out at sea for many months at a time, but cows will usually only travel away from the colony for a few days before returning to their pups. A lactating female will alternate her foraging periods out at sea between suckling her pup in the colony. She will spend up to 4 days away from the rock, hunting and fishing, and will return to the colony to suckle her pup for around 2 days, returning to the sea. Once out at sea, seals can reach speeds of up to 10 miles per hour and dive depths over 650 feet underwater, holding their breath for up to 7.5 minutes at a time. But leaving the rocks for the open ocean is not always all about fishing. Sometimes, just cooling off is good enough reason to catch a wave off the nearest rock. Seals are able to regulate their own body temperatures to an extent by exposing their flippers to the air. They can often be seen rafting, not too far from the colony. Rafting is the term given to a group of seals seen to be floating and playing in the swells in deep water. While they may look really relaxed, the seals are actually always on alert for predators like sharks and killer whales. Underwater surveillance is carried out sporadically. But when there is a group of seals together, they are almost guaranteed of a consistent vigilance, with one always being underwater. For the moment, no predators are in sight, and the waters are safe. In the heat of the day, the seals slide playfully through the water, seeing through the heat of the day in the cool ocean swells. But they may need to return to the colony sooner than they planned. In the distance, the skies are turning gray. Extreme weather conditions that the West Coast is known for may make landfall. As the sky grows heavy with storm clouds, the seals in the colony hunker down on the rocks and prepare themselves for torrential rain and pounding waves. They will move closer together and bunch tightly against each other in the middle of the rock, as far away from the crashing sea as possible. In weather like this, young pups can easily be crushed or suffocated in a crowded situation, or drown if they get swept out to sea in the violent surf. As the rock fills up with seals seeking shelter from the impending storm, the cramped conditions result in fighting for space. But these seals are just displaying, and no real harm will be done. One big bull, who still remains on the rock, applies his superiority with force. Using his massive hulk, he pushes his way to the prime basking spot on the rock, quickly chasing off any other seals wishing to lie there. Meanwhile, in the protected waters of the paddling pool, the pups and some cows seem oblivious to the potential dangers of the storm and continue splashing, playing, and exploring their surroundings. But they remain under the watchful eye of the adults on the rocks above. On the outskirts of the colony, at the edge of the rock, the waves crash against the boulders, spraying white water into the air. But the seals are safe on their colony rock in Lambert's Bay. But despite the gloomy afternoon, the storm dissipates as quickly as it formed. Without even a drop of rain, it fades away into the distance, opening the sky and letting in the amber beams of sunset. The light fades quickly as the sun sets into the sea to the west, casting long shadows over the rocks. The sea swells around the base of the rocks of the colony. Seals are arriving back from their travels far into the ocean. Some will have been away for days or weeks, and this will be the first time they have returned home in that period. Greeting calls are loud on the late afternoon air. Babies wail, and their mothers respond with bleats and barks as they locate each other in amongst the masses after having been separated. All the seals are jostling for space and a place to settle for the evening. Tempers flare as the rock becomes a little too cramped for comfort in some places. The colony settles in for the evening, waiting for darkness to fall. No one knows for sure if seals are active at night, and whether they take to the water and go hunting. But in Lambert's Bay, it certainly seems that everyone in this colony has returned for the evening. For some pups, the night may be spent snuggling up to other adults, as their own mothers may still be out foraging and will return later. The yelping and barking from the adults and the bleats from the pups all combine to drown out even the sound of the crashing waves as the sun slowly sinks below the horizon.